The salty air, tumultuous waves, and the scent of gunpowder set the backdrop for a period that has captivated imaginations for centuries, the golden age of piracy. Sailing ships with billowing sails clashed on open waters, and lawlessness reigned supreme. This era brought forth a multitude of daring characters who defied authority and sought a different kind of glory. Yet among these rogues, one pirate looms larger than life. Today our narrative zeroes in on the elusive and infamous Henry Every. His deeds, both terrible and audacious, earned him notoriety and a place in the chronicles of piracy. This story, rich with high-stakes adventure and cunning exploits, introduces you to a man who became a symbol of an era. Born in the year 1659 in Plymouth, England, Henry Every was destined for a life at sea from a young age. The son of a trading family, he was well acquainted with the maritime world. As a young man, he enlisted in the Royal Navy, honing his sailing skills and accruing knowledge that would serve him well in the years to come. He found himself a part of several naval expeditions, including campaigns against the French. However, life in the Royal Navy was anything but glamorous. Low pay, arduous conditions, and harsh discipline were constant features. Every's disillusionment with naval life reached a tipping point during his time aboard the warship Charles II. Docked in Corunna, Spain, the crew hadn't been paid in months and were languishing in squalor while the ship's officers enjoyed relative luxury. That stark disparity fueled a fire that was already burning. Frustration turned into action. Henry Every played a leading role in a mutiny against the officers. Once they seized control of the vessel, they renamed it the Fancy and set their course toward a life that promised greater autonomy and potential riches. Thus, Every transitioned from a mariner bound by the laws of the land to a pirate who would operate outside them. The mutiny was a watershed moment, the crucible in which Henry Every the pirate was forged. This change of direction did not just alter Every's life. It left an indelible mark on the period now famously known as the Golden Age of piracy. The Fancy, now under Henry Every's command, charted a course for the Indian Ocean, specifically targeting the rich Mughal shipping lanes. However, Every's eyes were set on a particular prize, the Ganges Sawai, a ship belonging to the Grand Mughal of India himself, Aurangzeb. Laden with an astonishing array of riches, the Ganges Sawai was returning from Mecca as part of the annual pilgrimage fleet. The allure of its treasure was irresistible, and the legend of its formidable armaments only heightened the challenge. As fate would have it, the Fancy found its mark. With a favorable wind and swifter artillery, Every's crew overwhelmed the Ganges Sawai after intense cannon fire and hand-to-hand combat. Once aboard, they were met with an astonishing sight. Chests filled with gold and silver coins, precious jewels, and other luxurious goods. It was a bounty far beyond their wildest imaginations, a haul estimated to be around £600,000 at the time, a fortune equivalent to tens of millions of dollars today. The heist's significance extended well beyond the vast wealth acquired. Its implications reverberated through geopolitical circles, disrupting trade and diplomatic relations between the Mughal Empire and the British East India Company. It fueled anti-piracy sentiments and led nations to increase maritime security in a bid to stamp out the pirate threat. It even made Henry Every the subject of the first-ever international manhunt, solidifying his place in the annals of piracy. But perhaps most notably, the capture of the Ganges Sawai cemented Every's reputation as one of the most infamous pirates of his era. His audacious act was proof that even the most well-protected and formidable ships were not invulnerable to piracy. It also demonstrated that the pirates of the Golden Age were capable of acts that could alter the course of history. After stripping it down for speed and outfitting it with 46 guns, Fancy became a terror on the waters, swift enough to outrun most adversaries and sufficiently armed to engage in naval warfare. The crew of the Fancy was a hodgepodge of adventurers, outcasts, and seasoned mariners. United by a shared aspiration for unfathomable riches, they were a self-contained society with its own codes and governance. Henry Every himself was elected as captain, a testament to the democratic, albeit rough-edged, ethos often found among pirate crews. Below him were essential roles: the quartermaster, responsible for dividing the loot and maintaining discipline, the bosun, tasked with overseeing the ship's maintenance, and the gunners, whose expertise would prove crucial in naval engagements. The social contract aboard the Fancy was clear. Each man had a role, and each role was crucial to the survival and success of their piratical endeavors. Rewards were divided based on a pre-established share system, ensuring that all had a vested interest in the outcome of their escapades. This strong sense of collective fate engendered fierce loyalty among the crew members, but it also posed its own set of challenges, like how to manage a multitude of strong-willed, often reckless individuals in confined quarters for extended periods. It's a dance as old as time, balancing the volatile elements of ambition, risk, and camaraderie on the knife edge of existential peril. Life aboard the Fancy was far from the romanticized version of pirate existence that lore often suggests. Days were regimented by the relentless ebb and flow of maritime responsibilities. The dawn often found crew members scrubbing the decks, repairing sails, or maintaining the ship's artillery. Food was a simple fare of salted meat, hardtack, and the occasional captured livestock, while fresh water was a precious commodity rationed carefully. Scurvy, a sailor's arch-nemesis, was kept at bay as much as possible, with whatever fruits could be plundered from captured vessels. Yet amid these hardships, moments of camaraderie surfaced. Sharing spoils after a successful heist, an impromptu fiddle session to lift spirits, or the collective relief felt when successfully navigating through a storm. These were the instances that galvanized the crew into a cohesive unit. The tactical prowess of Henry Every and his crew lay not just in raw firepower but in cunning subterfuge. They often flew false flags to lull their targets into a sense of security, only to unfurl the notorious Jolly Roger when it was too late for escape. Evasion was equally a game of wits. The Fancy was designed for speed, and her crew became adept at using natural elements to their advantage. Navigating through narrow straits where larger ships dared not follow, or using the cover of night to slip past patrols, the Fancy became almost ghost-like in its ability to appear and disappear at will. The saying, "honor among thieves," rings hollow in many criminal circles, but in the world of piracy, where every day could be your last, it was the glue that held men together. Such unity in the face of relentless danger made Henry Every's crew an entity to be both feared and, in a grudging sense, respected by those who knew the ruthless calculus of life on the high seas. The late 17th century was a time when nations began tightening the noose around piracy, spurred by increasing losses to trade and international tensions. English law, in particular, had statutes known as the Acts of Trade and Navigation, which made piracy a crime punishable by death. Pirate trials were gruesome affairs, held in admiralty courts without the option for trial by jury. Conviction often led to public hangings, the bodies sometimes left in gibbets as a gruesome warning to others contemplating a life of plunder. Henry Every's high-profile heists, especially the capture of the Ganges Sawai, caught the attention of not just England but nations across continents. This audacious act was a violation of a de facto peace with the Mughal Empire, risking diplomatic ties and future trade. Every became one of the first individuals to earn the dubious distinction of being wanted on a nearly global scale. The British government issued a proclamation offering a £500 reward for Every's capture, an astronomical sum for that era. Moreover, an Act of Parliament was passed, known as the Act for the More Effectual Suppressing of Piracy, specifically aimed at bringing down Every and his ilk. Ships were dispatched to scour known pirate havens across the Caribbean and the coasts of Africa. His likeness appeared in public notices and was shared with colonial governors, effectively making him an international outlaw. The manhunt was expansive but yielded little success. Every vanished almost as if swallowed by the sea, leaving behind a legend that would outlive him. His ability to elude capture was a thorn in the side of authorities and marked a seminal moment in the fight against piracy, laying groundwork for international cooperation against this scourge of the seas. Navigating the murky waters of legend, in fact, Henry Every's ultimate fate remains one of history's most enduring enigmas. Multiple theories abound, fueled by sporadic sightings, forged letters, and oral accounts that only serve to deepen the mystery. One prevailing narrative suggests that he adopted a pseudonym and lived out his days in obscurity, possibly in the Caribbean or even back in England, spending his treasure frugally to avoid suspicion. Yet another theory postulates that he journeyed to Madagascar, an island teeming with pirates, to vanish among kindred spirits. The idea that Évry may have successfully blended into society, thereby evading capture, turns the man into more myth than a mere mortal. His saga became fodder for ballads and stories, his audacity admired, if not glorified, by those who heard his tale. The elusive pirate achieved a level of infamy that turned him into an almost romantic figure, leaving a wake of lore that many pirate stories would emulate but seldom surpass. Évry's ability to disappear, never facing the gallows or imprisonment, sets him apart in a long line of pirates. The very fact that the man could not be found made him an immortal figure imprinted on the psyche of the golden age of piracy. The large-scale manhunt, the international arrest warrants, the public fascination, all these elements coalesced to create a legend. Henry Évry thus remains a spectral figure on the high seas of history, his life a cautionary tale, his disappearance an enigma that tantalizes historians and romantics alike. As the tale of Henry Évry sails into the horizon, we're reminded that the sea keeps many secrets, some of which are destined to remain buried in the sands of time. If you found this journey through Henry Évry's life as enthralling as the high seas he once roamed, consider subscribing to our channel for more captivating stories that probe the depths of history. Thank you.